Welcome to the Eddie Lam Show. We dedicate this podcast to interviewing musicians of every kind, as well as online content creators on social media. Whether if they're starting out or if they're already on the rise and still growing, this show is all about having a fun conversation with our guests, talking about their favorite things that relate to their passion for their projects. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's have that conversation. Imagine using social media like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and or Twitch to make engaging musical content. Whether you open the doors to allow musicians to virtually jam with you, especially vocalists, or have people chat with you about musical gear, production software, or just talking about your favorite bands. Since the beginning of the pandemic, social media has been an advantage for musicians to entertain and connect with the rest of the world. My guest for this episode is not only an extremely talented musician, but he's also a knowledgeable producer. If you're into rock bands such as Paramore, My Chemical Romance, Thrice, A Day to Remember, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and any other bands from the Warped Tour concerts, you'll definitely enjoy this episode. He's also currently on tour playing guitar with a rock artist named Taylor Acorn, and he also composes and produces songs for his own project, Unsafe Unsound. His name is Ricky Jabron, but on social media and on the big stage, he's known as Ricky Jab. Okay, everybody, this is my guest for the Eddie Lam Show. He is an amazing musician, and of course, what's really great about him is that he plays multiple instruments, and he can also sing, and he can also play some mean guitar. And our guest here is the amazing Ricky Jabron. But of course, most of you guys who've known him on social media and on the big stage, his name is Ricky Jab. Welcome to the show, Ricky. How are you doing today?
Hey, Eddie, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
No problem, man. And so, of course, the last time you and I ever saw each other in person was last year in April 2023 at the Rickshaw Theater. You played with Taylor Acorn. Of course, Grayscale and Worry Club played that same show as well. Shout out to those guys. And honestly, I think you were actually my first social media, American social media friend I've met in person.
No way, really?
Yeah, during the whole, during the pandemic, I've met so many different talented people online, right? And of course,
right.
Once live music started reopening again and events started happening in general, we've been getting some live shows coming our way. And, of course, when you told me that you were coming to Vancouver, I was so excited about it. And I was just thinking in my head, I was like, wow, the first American TikTok, Instagram friend I can meet in person finally, right? And It was just so cool to experience that. So with you going on tour that year in 2023, you must have been really excited about this whole thing when you got that opportunity.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. And to go back, now I'm thinking about it. I just realized I now have Canadian friends because I don't think I had any until TikTok. So
right,
it's pretty sick. But anyway, landing this opportunity was crazy too. I mean, to give a little bit of background, I had started my TikTok quote unquote career in 2020, and it was a result of me getting laid off from my tech job of 7 years. This was mid-pandemic, and I was doing a little bit of soul searching. And while applying for jobs, I thought, hey, why not get back into music a little bit and make some content around that. And my shtick at the time was emo karaoke's. Because I saw a lot of karaoke duets and things like that, but it was all for pop music, R&B, a lot of the mainstream stuff. And I was like, well, where's the alternative karaoke?
It was always have to be Piano Man, Backstreet Boys, or, just naming a few mainstream songs out there, right?
Yeah, so, I leaned into the alternative emo karaoke stuff. So, and that was a way for me to push myself into music production too, because I'd been recording and mixing a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was at a professional level. But I thought it was an opportunity to boost up my skills. So, I started posting a lot of those instrumental covers, and I would have a bunch of people duet me here and there, and to name a couple that have taken off, it was Helena by My Chemical Romance.
That's right.
the Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars, just they would be getting like tens of thousands of views and likes, and over time I started to evolve that my content. It went from email karaoke's to remixes. So I would be taking pop songs and making them pop punk, metal, alternative, and that sort of took a life of its own as well. So those, a couple of those videos took off with hundreds of thousands of views, and so it was really cool to see the growth on my page, and because of that, it exposed me to a lot of other musicians, and being a consumer as well, I was exposed to a lot of like artists, and
that's right.
One of those artists is Taylor Acorn, and Taylor
That's
Acorn
right.
at that time was posting a lot of emo acoustic covers, because she used to be a country artist, but her true roots are pop punk, emo, alternative music.
That's right. Yeah.
So story about her is like the reason why she started with country music is because that was sort of like her entry into the industry. When she got discovered, they asked her to move to Nashville, and they asked her to do country music. Country music wasn't really her thing. She appreciates it, but she's like, it's not really my thing, but I'll do it. And then during the pandemic, she was sort of like in that exploration phase too. I think a lot of us were exploring, rediscovering ourselves. And she ended up blowing up. And it's a funny story because like I was following her. I had no idea she was following me back or watching my content. And then sometime in 2021, I think, in the middle of May. Yeah, it was May. I got a DM, a cold DM from Taylor, and she said, "Hey,
Wow.
I've been watching your TikToks. I'm trying to form a band. I'm going on tour with Real Friends with Confidence and the home team. Do you want to play guitar?" I've never toured in my entire life.
Really?
I've been playing guitar So true story. I've played shows, I guess, like local shows in Philly, with my high school band.
That's right. Yeah.
A little bit of that, but like nothing like on a professional, like higher scale level of like touring, anything like that. So I had very little experience on that side of the industry, but I was like, I'm gonna take that leap. I'm gonna say yes. It was funny. I bought tickets to When We Were Young.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
it was
the festival.
It was the first year that When We Were Young was announced, and there was so much hype around it, and a lot of my favorite bands were going to be there. It would have been my first time seeing Paramore live, and sadly, I have still not seen Paramore live. Would have been my first time seeing My Chemical Romance live. Yeah.
Did you buy tickets for like both days, day 1 and day 2?
It's funny. I bought day 2, so I would have been able to catch it because day 1 got canceled, but I bought day 2.
That's right, because of the windstorm.
Yeah. But I bought day 2. And had to sell it, so because I had a whole trip planned with my younger sisters. Like we got an Airbnb and everything, and then we even split the Airbnb with another group of friends. And I ended up having to text everybody. I was like, "Hey guys, bad news. I can't go to When We Were Young. Good news, I'm going on tour." So it was. They're like, "What?"
Exactly.
So no, it was really cool. And yeah, I'm just truly honored that I was given this opportunity. Like, I have to thank Taylor. I have to thank TikTok, the algorithm,
Of course. Yeah.
and also like everyone who had supported me like over those years. Like it's rewarding to know like that people had been rooting for me on the internet. It's weird. It feels weird, but
It does. Yeah.
But I am grateful for it. So there we go. We now I've been touring with Taylor for the past 2 years, and it's been some of the best times of my life, and I wouldn't trade for anything else.
And then the great thing about it is that like you're pretty much her long-term hired gun in a way.
Yeah. No, I mean we've talked about it, extensively. Like we're both in it for the long haul. I think we both have a similar mindset, similar journey. And our tour camp. We love our camp. Like, we have some of the best people on our team. Everybody works hard, and there's no egos or anything. It's like, we just want to put on the best shows, and we want to have a good time with each other. So we're building a family too. So I'd say that's I think that's the beauty of being a part of this this tour camp.
And what I like about it is just that there's just so much growth when I've been, following you since 2020, basically, right? And of course, I was one of your many customers who've duetted some of your videos, obviously, and it was so much fun. Like, honestly, I'm just so glad that you've actually hit that market to do, like emo karaoke, basically. And I think everyone out there on TikTok really appreciate it because, with them taking advantage of that duet feature on that app, right? Like, it makes your channel so much fun, and that's what I loved about it. And going back to your channel too, it's just that, like, I look at all these different people who've duetted your videos, and there's like, especially with the MCR covers, there's like thousands upon thousands of people who just participated and took part to duetting those covers, right? And it's so cool.
Yeah, and they went viral for it too. The like, a couple people like took off, and they built a following through that.
Yeah,
and it's really funny because like someone called me the viral farm at the time. They were like, "You are the guy that makes people go viral." And it's funny because like they end up like as far as the view count goes, like sometimes they would get like 10 times the views that I would get, like, for the instrumental. And
really?
Rightfully so, because they're completing they're basically completing they're painting the full picture.
That's right.
It's like I'm giving them the the instrumental, and they're like, okay, let me bring it home and put out what people are really looking for. Because, like, every music listener, like, they gravitate towards vocals.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
when someone does it right, when someone does a really good cover, they they blow up. And then there are a couple people who put on goofy covers too that have gotten attention as well. So like, I remember this one content creator. He actually ended up deleting his account because, like, he had to focus on other things. But he was like
man, too bad.
Do you remember the farm emo guy? Like, he was really playing up the bit that emo music is just or is like. Oh man, I totally forgot what he said, but it was basically farm emo, and he would like dress up and like he would dress up like a farmer and duet like some of my videos, performing covers too. But like he ended up like not sticking around, but it was entertaining. Like, that's the other thing. Is like that's the another type of content people look for, entertainment. So you don't necessarily have to be a great vocalist, but if you can entertain a crowd with with your charisma, then you'll
and he was quite the character, basically.
yeah it was cool though.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, even going a little bit, further back, right? I believe your first video of this kind of format was the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus cover. Am I correct? That's
right. Yep. And the funny thing about that is, like, we just hit a full circle moment, because just yesterday I had announced that I am now the fill-in guitarist for the emo karaoke band, and they have been touring where they would perform emo instrumentals, and they would let the people come up on stage and perform karaoke. So
yeah, that's right. That's just so amazing, like how everything just came in full circle. But it's like your channel pretty much have built your portfolio to get that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, we're sharing the stage with Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. So
exactly.
It's like, wait, the first band that I covered is the band that we're
really awesome.
Yeah, so we're opening for Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. But yeah, this is for the Four Chord Festival. It's the pre-show. And I actually did play with the emo band once, like, because I was like sort of like a guest feature at the at Emo Night Nashville. Yeah, and that was my first time meeting the dudes of the emo band, and we hit it off like really quickly. They're really good dudes, and so their current guitarist and drummer, they also play for Lakeview. So they ended up having to go on tour, so they needed a fill-in guitarist. So then they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, do you want to learn 50 emo songs and play karaoke?" So I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it." So I have 50 songs to learn. I've only chipped away at like 3 or 4, but they're pretty simple. Like, I mean, like they're emo classics. Like some of them I know like in my head, like how I know how the song goes. It's just a matter of like getting used to playing it on the guitar.
I would love to say, as a karaoke band member myself, welcome to the club.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. And the great thing I do love about your channel is just that you've created such a very unique market that everyone was dying for, right? And just the fact that you were able to, pretty much what I see as that channel is like, it's not just the hot topic channel, right? But it's like but it's just pretty much like the ultimate sing along channel that people can really just have so much fun with. But what I really appreciate was all the effort that you've put in to make sure all the drums and all the bass, guitar, instrumental tracks were accurate, just like the original recording. How long in average did it take you to, let's say, record a chorus part of a familiar song?
Sure. When I first started, I think I would like my process was a little slower. I think it would take me roughly like about 3 hours, only because like I'm so like picky with the mixing part. Like recording is not the difficult part. It's like because just learning the chords, the leads, playing the bass part, and programming the drums, that would only take me about maybe like 30 or 45 minutes tops. But like that, but then it came down to the mixing. But then I got like I was pretty slow with the mixing process at the beginning, but then I started to figure out like craft my guitar tone, craft my drum tones and things like that, and then I started turning them into templates. So over time, like my covers got quicker and quicker, where I could like bust one out like in an hour and a half. And if you listen to my content now, yeah, the mix is like more or less the same. The drums they have the same tones. Maybe I'll make like slight adjustments to like the guitar tone, but just subtle tweaks. But as a content creator, it's a lot easier when you have everything templated. And I don't want to call it laziness, but I think it's just having a system in place. That's how I would view it. But then other times and
it creates that consistency basically too.
For sure, yeah, it definitely adds consistency, and but there are times where I would challenge myself to come up with a new tone, like especially like so one time I decided to do a J-Rock cover. It was that Charlie Puth cover. Right. So that's where I was like, okay, let me actually change the tone of my guitar to kind of fit that J-Rock sound or things like that. Or there was another time where there was another time where I just kind of felt like doing an R&B thing. And I was like, it was a random one where I was like, what if MCR sounded like had R&B guitars? And then it kind of worked. I don't think it blew up, but I had fun with it. Like it challenged me to mess around with the clean guitar tones and things like that. But yeah, I would say like the amount of time I would spend in total making the full video, because I also have to record the video and edit it down. Maybe like nowadays it would probably take me about like 2 hours. 2 hours with
gotcha.
So including the recording, the mix down, the video shoot, and the edit, because because I record the video after I finish the mix down. So because I basically play along to the final mix. So if that upsets musicians, well, I don't know what to say. It's just like that. It's just for me, it's easier that way. I mean, I think everyone shoots music videos like that. So
Of course,
I don't think you can judge.
Oh, and I guess that going further into the recording process, do you have a favorite amp sim that you use for guitars?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big Neural DSP guy. Ever since they came out with their stuff, like I fell in love and never looked back, because I've been looking for good guitar tones, but the thing is, like, I'm not like a plug-in snob or like I
Right.
what like I don't have a large library of plugins. So before I had Neural DSP, I was using Amplitude, and
Oh yes, Amplitude's amazing.
Amplitude was fun, but like I struggled with it, and maybe it's because of my skill set at the time. I just didn't know how to craft a guitar tone. But for whatever reason, Neural DSP, the archetype Nolly had everything what I needed, and I realize now, and actually my bandmate helped me realize, the reason why I liked archetype Nolly is because the cabs that they were emulating were the cabs that I enjoyed throughout the 2000s. Like, it's the 5051s, the Bogner, like those amps that gave that iconic guitar sound from the era of music that I love. So that's why I was like, I found the tone.
and it became the industry standard with that tone, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, archetype Nolly is my go-to, but I also use Corey Wong. Corey Wong's clean tones are great. Like, they cuts through nicely. Sometimes I use Tim Henson, not too much. I'm not really into like the jangly glassy tone as much. I'm more into like, I like it nice and warm, but still cuts through nicely. So yeah, Nolly is my go-to. Corey Wong is like my second.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, if you watch any of my videos, my remixes, you're hearing Nolly.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of effects and tones and everything, do you have any specific setup when you play live acoustically? Because I know you've done some acoustic segments with Taylor Acorn, especially that one interview you did, which is, of course, we can find on YouTube. So do you have any specific setup when you play with the acoustic 6 strings?
For the acoustic guitar, no, I just go direct into the I just use a DI box, and it goes straight to the house. The guitar I play is a Taylor GS Mini with the Koa wood, and it has a beautiful tone. It's like I don't really like full size acoustic guitars. Like, I know it has a rich sound and it's a full body, but I just don't feel comfortable playing them. I don't really have a large frame. I'm like 5'7", but like I just don't like the idea, like I have to like, extend my arms, like, so I like the smaller scale guitars, so the travel size is perfect for me. And yeah, I mean, as far as tone goes, I go direct to the house. I just let the Taylor do its work. But as far as the electric goes, I use a Helix, a Line 6 Helix, but I'm actually planning to convert because I love Neural DSP so much. I am looking to get the Quad Cortex, so probably by the time we hit up the next tour in the fall, I will have a Quad Cortex.
That is an amazing choice. But I remember when you mentioned the Helix, I remember my guitar player from Cry of Silence used that for live shows before it. And I can tell you, man, that thing sounds like a beast.
Oh, it is heavy like a beast. Like, I'm like lugging it around is no joke. I mean, you're like, oh, 20 something pounds is not bad. But then, like, when you're lugging it around like on tour, it's like, oh man, I wish I had something smaller. And then the Quad Cortex is like about the third of the size of the Helix. So I'm excited to downsize, but also the Quad Cortex has a larger DSP capacity. I don't know the terminology, but I think because I just love the Neural DSP tone so much, like it only makes sense to get the Quad Cortex. The Helix has served me well for 2 years, and I think it's time for a switch. So
of course, yeah.
Awesome,
man. And it's good to talk about gear stuff to you as well. From one performing musician like myself to another,
sure,
like you. It's cool to talk about that kind of stuff, because I feel like quite often we always like to find the identity of our sound when we play live or if we're recording, right? But sometimes if you even want to recreate the signature sound like you do on your channel, right? I think that's really impressive, man. Like, honestly, like I said, going back to what I said before, that's the reason why I really appreciate your channel so much, is because of all the effort and time you've put in to make that happen. And it's like as if you were a part of that band in the first place, you know, like
oh wow, that's
like
that's really kind,
especially when you recreate the MCR covers. I'm like, it sounds like you could have been in MCR.
That's wild. No, I appreciate that, and no, it was definitely a learning process for me, and it definitely taught me to, how to be a better producer, and it also like helped with my confidence as well, because I've always wanted to be I've always wanted to be a producer, but never felt the confidence to work on other people's music. But now, where I am now, I can comfortably work on other people's music. But for a while, I've just been sort of like doing things on my own.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, then, because I know with you, like, you've been growing so much as a producer behind the scenes as a musician with so much knowledge. What was one of the biggest challenges? Do you find that it's the recording process, or is it the mixing process, or do you think maybe it's just any other kind of editing process that could drive you bananas sometimes, but you've kind of overcome it? Just any kind of challenging stories that you're willing to share.
Yeah, I think from the production perspective, personally, I think the biggest challenge is always mixing. Yeah. Because everyone says the mix is never finished, and you have to find a point where you're like, okay, this is as good as it's gonna get, and like I just have to release it or send it off. And I feel like it's much more stressful when you're working on a mix for another client, because they have their own vision of what they want their track to sound like, and sometimes when there is a disconnect between the engineer and the artist, it makes things a little difficult. But I try to avoid that at all costs, and the way to do that is to communicate effectively with your client and say, what sound are you going for? Like, send me tracks that as reference, and then why do these songs resonate with you? What is it about these specific songs that you want in your mix? So when we have those conversations, it becomes easier. But every artist has has something to that they're looking for. That I would say there are a couple times where I would be faced with a challenge where I'm having trouble like getting the sound that they want. But
that's right.
I think that was like and I think that was like early in my mixing career. But now, I think it depends on the artist too. Like as of recently, like the artists I've worked with have placed a little more trust in my craft, and so I think it's part of the journey. Like when you're starting out, you're working with artists who don't necessarily know what they want.
That's right.
And they're having trouble communicate that. But then as you grow, like your clientele, like I guess the caliber changes a little bit.
That's right.
And they're able to communicate what they want, and they're able to make a little more sense. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then boom, 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 here's the mix revision.
Yeah.
So I just remember my first year was tough. I was like,
I'm sure.
Man, why are we not getting this down?
Right.
Is it me or is it them? Like, but it gets easier.
When you start working with musicians who may not know what they want yet, right? Like, starting from scratch, that's always like the tough part. It's almost like you have to like try different kinds of things in order for them to figure out if this is exactly what they're looking for, or maybe it's better than what they expected, or maybe sometimes it may not be what you're looking for at all, and that can be the challenging part, is to search and search until you find the right thing.
And as I spend more time working with like different clients, like I'm starting to understand like the common language, that because like they're not gonna speak like an engineer, like, oh, you should cut at like 2K, or like, this sounds boxy or whatever. Like that's not, they don't talk like that. So it's like typically they will say, I want this to be a little more punchy or more brighter. So I'm like, okay, let me translate that into an engineer mindset, and do what I can.
Come on, Ricky, give it more oomph.
Yeah. It's like, why doesn't this sound good? I was like, man.
Yeah. Oh man, no, but yeah, no, I feel that, man. But I'm really glad though, like with you diversified yourself into so many different avenues on recording too. I mean, of course, besides music, like you've recorded podcasts, obviously, and you've also, now, have you ever done anything else? Let's say you wrote like, say, an instrumental for a commercial, or have you been looking to maybe get into that, or maybe something like recording music for film or TV shows, like instrumental stuff? Or is there something you've done or anything you were wishing to touch base on in the future?
Yeah, sure. I've done 2 jingles. So that one jingle was for a beef jerky company, and then the other one is
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't remember what the other jingle was for, but no, I love working with with that type of stuff. I would like to get into that a little more. Film scoring has been an interest. I've never done it. Video game scoring, I'd love to do that. Like Nobuo Uematsu is my is my inspiration in music as well.
Final Fantasy, man. Yeah.
Oh man, brilliant composer.
Yeah.
I'd love to get into that, and maybe even like sync licensing, things like that. I just haven't delved into it so much, but I could see all of those being possibilities for me.
And of course, speaking of film scoring, we all know the amazing Hans Zimmer saw your stuff, especially with the cover of Interstellar theme song. And we all know he's going on tour right now. I know he's coming here to Vancouver sometime in the fall, I believe.
Oh, really? Nice.
I think he might be hitting up Nashville eventually down the road,
sure.
if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah,
Hans Zimmer saw you doing your thing. You must have had a lot of like really amazing reactions from all your friends and family. What was your reaction when you saw that?
It's funny, like I didn't even know it was happening, because I was just like doing something else. I was probably like in bed or like just watching TV or whatever, but it's like I didn't even get the notification from Hans Zimmer. I just saw like people commenting. It's like, Hans Zimmer saw your stuff. Hans Zimmer saw your stuff. I was like, what?
Nice.
And then I open up TikTok, and then I see him like busting out his metal guitar and just jamming along. I was like, what is this? I was like, this is tripping me up. It's because like, oh man, Hans Zimmer, your music got me through a lot of stuff. Like you were like study music when I was in college. Yeah. And then like, oh no, it was cool. And then, I shot my shot. I was like, I left a message or I was like, hey, if you ever need a guitarist for your compositions, just say the word. I always try to do that, but because that a similar thing happened with Nicki Minaj too. Nicki Minaj retweeted my remix of her song.
That's right.
And then I was like trying to get on.
That was awesome, man. Seriously.
Thanks. I was trying to get in her band too. I was like, hey, if you need a guitarist, and yeah, it's crazy how the internet works. It's like you never know who's actually looking at your stuff, and it could be people who have like of that caliber. Again, like it was crazy, and like it's nice having like that little moment, and it feels validating too. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing something good.
Well, I could definitely see you get hired on board to join his orchestra for his tour. You know what I mean? Because I think it would be really awesome if, let's say, hey, if he did a live segment in his tour where, hey, we're gonna add a little bit of metal guitar into, say, the Interstellar theme song and all the other theme songs he composed, give it a little bit more of a rock spin to it. I would picture you doing that for sure. Hey,
that'd be cool. I mean, I've watched some videos of Hans playing the guitar. He's a he's pretty solid. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys got some chops. So yeah, it's funny. He's a low key rocker.
I know. And meanwhile, he has to do the duties of John Williams and Harry Gregson Williams and all the other Danny Elfman, all those other composers. But it's funny too because I mentioned Danny Elfman because don't forget, like Danny Elfman was also in a '80s band before he started doing things like movies and all that stuff because he was in that band Oingo Boingo, right? So the theme to Weird Science, but then from that theme song, then he started doing things like The Simpsons, right? Of course, in The Night Before Christmas, like all those classics, right? And but was there?
Right.
But going back to Hans Zimmer, though, was besides Interstellar, was there any other soundtracks that you really admire from Hans?
Ooh, I mean, Inception was one of them. Like the track Time just hits. I mean his stuff for the Batman movies. Yeah, they the hit, and then Dune. Like I still have yet to watch the second movie, but
right.
Yeah, no, it's it's just the way he tells a story through his compositions is wild, and he's just like, I don't know, I feel like he could like write a movie just through his music. Like I think if he just made a soundtrack to nothing, I think it would tell a story of its own, and like I think everyone would have different interpretations of it. Like I don't know, there could be something profound. I feel like I feel like Hans should try that. Just score something with no visual context. That'd be interesting.
But it's almost like, this is a soundtrack to someone getting up from bed, brushing their teeth, and having a bowl of cereal first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that'd be, hey, it could be epic too.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But speaking of epic, and speaking of tour, as we mentioned, Hans Zimmer going on tour and everything. But with you're flying out to the UK, and from what I understand, it's going to be a really epic tour for you guys. Now, is this your first time playing in the UK?
No, because last summer we were there and we had our own Europe run, and we played the Download Festival.
That's right. Yes,
Taylor had a headliner in London, and then we also did a couple festivals here and there in Europe. But yeah, this will be our second time in the UK, and but this time we'll be playing the Slam Dunk Festival, which is super exciting because we're worth a lot. Like the I don't know if you've seen the lineup for Slam Dunk. It's pretty extensive.
It's stacked.
Yeah. So at least for our stage, like it's us, Honey Revenge. We got Water Parks Against the Currents. But yeah, I mean it's gonna be a pretty packed festival. Like I'm really stoked to see how that goes. And then Taylor also has a headliner in London. And then supporting us will be a band called South Arcade. So
right on.
yeah,
Nice.
and then so it's just those three gigs in UK, and then we fly back to DC. Then we drive up to Dewey Beach to play with Dashboard Confessional. So we're direct support for them.
That's right. I remember that. Yes.
And then we're playing a festival in Baltimore with it's called the Let's Go Festival. And then lastly, we'll be direct support for Walk Off the Earth in Toronto at the Budweiser stage.
Who are Canadian too, by the way.
Who are Canadians, yes. So we will be on your turf.
That's right. Yeah. Awesome. And and when you see Honey Revenge, please say hi to Devin and Donnie for me if you run into them.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see them. They're good people, and they're gonna kill it on stage, and they've just recently started their headline run in the UK. So yeah, I'm excited to catch up with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think what's really great is that even just for all those years during the pandemic, we've seemed you and I seem to have connected with quite a wide variety of talented people on both TikTok and Instagram. And I think what's great was that we get a chance to either just see them see these people grow in some way, or we collaborate with them somehow. Is there anyone that you would dream to collaborate with? It doesn't matter if they're famous or not.
Oh, man, that's tough. It's so funny because I sit on the VIPs with Taylor, and then everyone asks her that question, and then like I know her answers, and but like now I was like never thought that anyone would ask me, and now I'm like I don't even know who I want to collab with. Shoot, that's a good question. Man, I mean, honestly, I'd love to collaborate with Paramore. I mean, I was trying to get Haley's attention when I did the Paramarathon, like covering 31 Paramore songs in a month. I mean, I would love to just to sit down and just like, rock it, bust out a song with Haley Williams. I think that'd be dope. Trying to think who else I would love to collaborate with. Oh, I mean, my all-time favorite band, Thrice. I have a tattoo of them right here, but
yes,
yeah,
tattoo.
yeah. So I mean, Thrice is literally the reason why I picked up the guitar and and started taking it seriously. But yeah, it would be cool to just even hang out with them in the studio, or jam out with them. So yeah, let's go with Thrice and Paramore. I say those are two bands that I would love to collaborate with.
What about friends you've met through the internet, Instagram or TikTok, who are also musicians?
Ooh,
like some not maybe like some not so famous folks.
Sure. Trying to think here. Well, it's one person that I did like a TikTok with, but I would love to write a full song with, like a full original. Casey Carlson. So she is in a band called Deadlands, and
we all know Casey really well. Yes.
Yeah, and also tours with Nina Strauss. I think that's how you pronounce the name. I hope I didn't butcher it. But so she's a fantastic vocalist. I'd love to just work on a track with her. So I think that'd be really sick. But yeah, we did like a cover like way back in like 2021 or something like that.
And I believe Deadlands have a tour coming up too. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like they go out on the road quite often, and
yeah.
Yeah, they get a bunch of festival gigs too. So I mean, I'm super happy for them. I met the whole band. Like they're all really sweet people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they make kick-ass music,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and just like you too. So, and speaking of kick-ass music, I mean, let's talk about your band Unsafe Unsound. I mean, what was really cool was that you opened the doors for Homebound, for allowing people to just make up a verse, which I thought was really amazing to do, like an open verse challenge, right? And of course, like I said, I was one of your many customers that did my own little take on it. So I just love how you create that fun, but at the same time, it's like, hey, original music, but I need your guys' help to write this song in a way. And I think the way you opened those doors was such a really unique experience, and I love that. Now, of course, look at the numbers here too, right, on Spotify. Obviously, What Hurts the Most has over 4 million plays now on Spotify so far.
Oh yeah, it's wild.
And of course, still growing. It's really fascinating how just that one song could have like millions and millions of plays, and people from all over the world are hearing you guys. What was your initial reaction when you found out that you just kept growing and growing?
Again, we didn't expect that sort of thing. TikTok, you can't predict anything really.
That's true.
that idea of doing a cover of What Hurts the Most was just like was on a whim. I mean, it was trending at the time because I think a lot of emo content creators were like, guys, What Hurts the Most is low key emo. Like it's an emo song. And then Tyler, my bandmate, was like, why don't we actually make this an emo song? I'm like, sure, yeah, why not? So then I busted out the guitar, and then I did my thing, and then I sent it to them. I was like, hey, throw your vocals on it. And then we we took it to the next level where we shot a music video. Like you have Tyler holding like an empty like beer bottle or whatever.
That's right.
And
yeah.
I have like a cowboy hat on, like playing a Telecaster. Like we're doing the whole bit, and next thing you know, it just like hit like near 2 million views or something like that, and then people were like demanding the recording, and we were like, crap. All right, we had to release the full version. And at the time, I think we only released one single of our original. And it was cool that it's funny. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with that song, and so does Tyler. We love it for what it did for us as far as like giving us the exposure, but we also hate that it tried to box us. It tried to box us into that genre. People wanted us to be the alternative band. They wanted us to be the band that pretty much covers country songs and makes it emo, because everyone's requesting, oh, do Keith Urban, do so and so. I don't know. Like I'm not well versed in like the country's artist roster, but they're like, do this and that, and we're like, no. And then we started losing fans at the same time.
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah, they're
That
like,
really
screw
sucks,
these guys. Yeah, no, they were giving us flack, and like when we put out our next originals, like, yeah, we don't really care for this. We're like, wow. But those who did actually like enjoy us, like they stuck around. Like, you know, the ones who actually cared, like, you know, we appreciate them the most. Like, you know, they found us through What Hurts the Most, but they stuck around for songs like Homebound and our recent EP, like Birth by Dissonance. And you know, we don't regret the decision. Like, you know, it's I think we did put money on the table. We could have been the country emo cover band, but I don't regret. I don't regret walking away from that type of thing, because like what me and Tyler wanted on Safe on Sound to be was our creative outlet to make the aggressive music that we want. And we're very much a post-hardcore band who's influenced by by Under Oath, Silverstein, with a little bit of like metalcore undertones with their like counterparts, Misery Signals, and you know, we've always wanted it to be that way, and we're like, we intend to keep it that way, you know. So What Hurts the Most is like is the only thing you'll get right now with as far as like covers. Like, well, maybe we'll be open to it in the future, but right now it's like we want to focus on our originality, and because it's funny, because like Tyler also has his own solo artist, Tired Violence, where he has his own sound, and then sometimes I do like, you know, Ricky Jab covers, or like, you know, or I have Taylor, but Unsafe on Sound is sort of like our baby. It's like it's sort of our emo post-core safe space for us. It's like, so we have some new music coming. We're writing again, and we're really excited about it. Like, you know, we're pushing for we're adding some new elements into our sound. Like this next track, like I'm doing a little more vocals. Like, I'm actually screaming in the next song.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's something I don't typically do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something I was totally comfortable with. But like, you know, we were like, screw it. Let me throw some screams there. And Tyler's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, take a chance.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I love about working on Unsafe and Sound with Tyler. Like, we really like we don't, as far as like writing original music, we don't really set any limitations. It's like we just didn't want to be bound to covers, and a lot of bands feel that way too. Like, look at Loveless. Like, they blew up for their covers, and then when they went on tour, they were like, we're not doing any of the covers. So we toured with them, and I thought they were gonna bust out in the middle of the night. Like, that song had like millions of streams and views on YouTube, and they didn't play it once on tour, because they made a statement. They made a statement. Hey, if you know, you can like us for our covers, but we're here to make our own stuff, and, you know, take it or leave it.
Which is a great thing, honestly. You know, the beauty of songwriting is it's not just about creating the next big hit, but you're just pretty much like creating something that no one's ever heard of. And I always feel like that's the most beautiful thing in songwriting in general, you know. And people, people can have their, nostalgic things that they remember. Is like, oh yeah, I remember those hits we listened to back in high school, and they just keep playing over and over again. But bringing something brand new to the world by songwriting, I mean, like, just like it does. I mean, going back to even what you mentioned before too, when you mentioned bands, like, let's say for example Against the Current, right? Same example too. They had a lot of covers on YouTube as well, right? And of course, they covered Paramore, and then Chrissy collaborated with some other people to do some other covers as well. But
Right.
when I heard Against the Current write their own stuff, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty darn impressive, and I'm really enjoying this, right? And when they were announcing that they were going on tour, like, I went to see their shows when they came to Vancouver, and it's not because wow, they did some really good covers. It's because no, like, their original songs are actually really decent, and it would be great just to hear it live too, right? And
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, and even the way, like, just like just going to that experience was just so fascinating. So my next question is, Unsafe Unsound going on tour, can that be a thing sometime, maybe this year or the year after?
I say it's possible. We've talked about doing our first live show. So it's only difficult because we're long distance. Tyler is based in Virginia, and I'm
That's
here
right.
in Tennessee. But I mean, we're actually on, like, what, 3 states apart. I don't know my geography that well, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, we have talked about wanting to play live shows, maybe do like a small run of shows. Yeah, we're certainly open to it. I mean, we're definitely gonna need to put together a full band, because, like, we'll need a drummer and either a second guitarist or a bassist. So
You hear that, folks? So yeah, that Ricky's hoping to hire someone in the rhythm section. So if you know their whole album "Birth by Dissonance," you are hired.
There it is. Yeah, start covering it, put it up on YouTube, and there's the audition. And we're like, okay, yeah,
there you go. You know what? If you ever need a guest vocalist or a piano player for future recordings, you let me know, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah. I can be your first Canadian collab, I guess.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, yeah. So it's so funny too, because when you were mentioning about, like, Unsafe and Sound doing like country emo covers, right? It's so funny how it falls full circle, because Taylor Acorn, of course, she's done country, but her roots is emo. So it seems like there's a little bit of a theme happening here.
I'm not sure what I mean, maybe it's because I'm in Nashville. It's like, everybody's a little bit country, everyone's a little bit emo. I think that's what it is. I mean, but when you really think about it, like, the music that country fans enjoy and emo fans enjoy, there are common themes. It's like, songs about heartbreak,
that's right,
struggle, hardships, things like that. It's like, that there's an emotional tie to all this music, and I think that's why there's a lot of overlap. So when people hear these two things, like, come together, they're like, yeah, this makes sense and this works. And no one's really mad about it. So, I mean, hey, I support the alternative. I'll call it that.
Yeah.
I just didn't want, and neither did Tyler. We just didn't want Unsafe and Sound to be that. And, like,
of course,
we're happy for any other band or artist that runs with it. That's I have total respect for that. It's just not for us.
Yeah, no, I hear that. So speaking of concerts, so let's talk about it. If you were to go back in time and relive this moment, would you ever have that opportunity to play at Warped Tour? And if so, which year would it be?
Oh, man, I wish I went to Warped Tour 05 or 06. It was the one that Atreyu headlined, and that was, like, the one of the best times I've had.
Well, that's a mega throwback.
Yeah, Thrice was there too. Like, I wish I would have played that Warped Tour. Like, that would have been so sick. Yeah, no, what a time that was. Like, it was crazy. I nearly, like passed out from heat exhaustion there too, because like
Oh my
it was
goodness.
it was my first festival, and I didn't know how to take care of myself, and I wasn't drinking enough water.
Right.
But and I was like 15 or 16 at the time.
Yeah.
I was really small and scrawny too, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would, if I could go back to that, relive it, and play a show, that'd be sick. Knowing what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been dope. For sure.
Yeah. Now, I mean, let's talk about this. Let's do a little bit of fantasy building here. So, Unsafe Unsound, let's say, you guys go on tour, and let's say you get a chance to tour with another huge band. Who would it be? Who do you think would be the best fit?
Under Oath, 100%. I think supporting Under Oath would be one heck of a tour.
Yeah.
I think Tyler's really big into, like, his biggest vocal inspiration is Spencer, as well as Aaron, and but also like the electronic sounds, the elements that Under Oath has added to their music, definitely influenced Tyler with his songwriting. For me, like, I've always loved the aggressive guitar playing, the drums that Under Oath had, and just the way they structure songs. Like, they are the epitome of like what Unsafe Unsound like aspires to be, really, as far as like, I guess like if we wanted to find the perfect fan base, it would be Under Oath fans, I'd say.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Personally, even for me, I could even see you going on tour with, say, Alexis on Fire and A Day to Remember. Both those bands, I think, would be a good fit for you guys, too. That's just my personal preference, though.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, that would be sick.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll just wrap up with one more question then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to let us hear more about your journey, man. Like, honestly, it's so cool to see you grow so much over the years since I've known you, which is like, it'll be almost 4 years now. Holy crow, dude.
It's wild. I can't believe that I've been doing this sort of thing for 4 years. It was like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so my final question then in this case would be, if you were to actually touch base on a different genre just for fun, which genre would you pick?
I would, oh man, if I were to touch another genre, I had an EDM phase. So what people don't know, I had an EDM phase, and I even attempted to be an EDM producer, specifically in future bass. I could see myself going back to attempt that, and because I messed around with Ableton, and I was inspired by like Millennium, Seven Lions, those types of artists. I could see him. Maybe I'll give it another try. I'll put it under a different alias, but also I'm also really big on like lo-fi music, which I have toyed around with. If you looked at if you listen to the Birth by Dissonance, like one of the last tracks is
yeah, that's right. It's like the final, like this. I think the second last track on there.
Yeah, it's our lo-fi version of the first song. So I could lean into that.
Yeah.
But if I really wanted to go like out of the field, away from like, what I'm already doing, I think I'd take a stab at EDM again.
That's awesome. Yeah, and honestly, I could see you do that.
Yeah, I would like if I didn't have a guitar, I would be headbanging behind like a like, what do you call it? Behind a turntable. So
you're gonna pull a Skrillex, basically.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah,
I can see you and him hanging out and having so much fun on the turntables, man. Like, seriously.
Oh man, that'd be sick. Yeah. Hey, if Skrillex, if you're listening,
if you're listening to Skrillex, he he's up for the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all had that electronic music phase at one point in our lives too. I remember I'm pretty sure you must have remembered those days, when every young person wanted to go to a rave, right? Or at least or if they didn't, they just loved the music, and you listen to like Paul Oakenfold, or I think Trans Control, I think that was their name, or all that stuff. But man, I remember everyone would talk about the raves that they would go to, and they colored their hair like bright blonde or multicolored and everything like that too. And they would wear some plastic chains around them, and man, that was a thing. Even 20 plus years ago, man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyways, dude, Ricky, man, thank you so much for being a part of this. And like I said, I always appreciate you. Keep updating us on everything you've been doing with Taylor, with Unsafe on Sound, with any other avenues that you've been working on musically, man. You are killing it. And like I said, man, we are really proud of you, and we are behind you 100%, because it's really cool just to see someone from humble beginnings do some really amazing things that's larger than life. And I hope it continues to be a really great journey for you. And so make sure you keep updating us each time, because I would love to see all those concert highlights, especially on your UK tour.
I appreciate that, Eddie. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to follow Ricky, make sure you look up Ricky Jab on both Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all the other social media stuff. And feel free to just say hi to him. He's a really cool dude. So and just stay tuned for all his musical adventures. He's someone that you don't want to miss. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Eddie Lam Show, a podcast dedicated to interviewing musicians and online content creators of every kind. If you would like to be a guest on the program, feel free to send me an email at eddielammusic@gmail.com. That's EDDIELAM music@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website at eddielammusic.ca. That's EDDIELAM music.ca. You can also follow me on social media. Username is Eddie Lam Music. That's EDDIELAM Music on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning into our program. In the meantime, stay in touch, stay safe, and as always, stay awesome.